All right, I'm back out here again today with my 450 Bushmaster. It's a Mossberg Patriot. I'll put a link in the description to the review video of this rifle. Also, previously, a few months ago, did a 400-yard video with this. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. But now we're going to try for 500 yards. So I know this is further than one should probably shoot this rifle. I know it's further than you should probably engage a, animal at that range for hunting. But we're just doing this for fun. With that being said, however, this still has 800 foot-pounds of energy at 500 yards. So you can see a 20-inch steel gong that Shoot Steel sent me there at 500 yards. So that's what we'll be shooting at. Now, in the 400-yard video, I stated in that video, this is a BDC reticle. It's a Vortex Crossfire 3-9-40, so not quite as much magnification as I would prefer to have for shooting 500 yards. But in the 400-yard video, the scope has marks for 100, 150, 200, 250, and 300-yard ranges, okay? So in the 400-yard video, I used the very bottom mark for 300 yards, and I was having to aim about 3 feet high. So out there at 500, just guessing, 10 to 12 feet low. I can't exactly find trajectory charts for 450 Bushmaster because, well, no one shoots them this far. So we are 100% going to be guessing to make those 500-yard impacts. So like I said, I'm going to guess, using the 300-yard mark, I'm going to guess that it's going to be about 10, 12 feet low. So I'll just lob a few out there and adjust accordingly. And I'm using this expensive stuff. By the way, if you want to support the channel, you can check out that thanks button bottom right under the video. Anyways, this is what I use to this rifle. They're pretty accurate out of this thing for me. Just over an inch group at 100 yards, if I remember correctly. 450 Bushmaster, they're Hornady Custom 250 grain FTX bullets. They do give you some trajectory there, but like I said, it's real hard to find anything beyond 300 yards. So let me get her loaded up and we'll start lobbing them out there and see what we can do. All right, here we go. I think I'm going to start out shooting a little lower than what I am anticipating that I have to do. That way we can see them strike the dirt, and then I can adjust from there, because if I just start shooting over the target, back there in the shade, I'm not going to see where I'm hitting. Alright, it's a little more clear through the scope, but hopefully you guys could have seen it too. I was just low right. So I'll make a slight adjustment to where I aim, and hopefully we'll start hitting it. Alright, that time we were just under it, so I still need to aim a little higher. Well, the sun moved on me there, and now the leaf I was aiming at is no longer illuminated, so still guessing here. Okay, just off to the right, and it might be a little hard to see through the camera, but we do have a slight crosswind to the right. So I am aiming off to the left a little bit to compensate there. Alright, so there's our first hit. So now I think I know where to hold, and as long as the sun doesn't change on me again, I'll get loaded up here and hopefully get some more hits. Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys can see it through this camera here. It's more clear through the scope. But we hit just off to the right of center, so a pretty good hit there. This upcoming shot here was way off. I was confused about why it occurred at first, but I did figure it out shortly, and I'll explain that in the video in just a second. Well, that was a crazy shot. I had an issue in the 400-yard video where the scope was moving on me, but I Loctited everything. So we shouldn't be having that issue now, but maybe I just messed that one up. As you can see, the background is now different again because the sun keeps moving on me. And I am aiming 8 to 10 feet over it, so that may have just been me. Take a few more, see if we can confirm here. Alright, so I know what I did with that previous shot. By the way, that one hit the very top left edge there, so that was a hit. I aimed with the center crosshairs on the previous shot instead of the 300-yard mark like I was. So that's what happened on that previous shot. Brain fart moment. All right, so we're just wasting bullets here. I'm going to backtrack a little here. I forgot to do this. I meant to do this before attempting 500. I got my target out there at 100 yards, and I need to check 0. So we're going to go just that center bullseye there on the chest. You can see there's 2 previous holes there. That was from the previous video, the 25-06. But what I should have done, and I did mean to do, and I just completely forgot, 0 to make sure we're still on 0 there at 100 yards. But it's proving to be quite difficult, especially with the sun continuing to move on me out there and the shades changing and whatnot. Just picking a spot back there in the trees to aim super high. So after I check 0 to 100 yards here, I'm going to adjust the scope to where it's shooting about dead on for 500 instead of having to aim like 8 to 10 feet high. And that should improve my accuracy. I think that's why we're kind of all over the target and just barely missing it out there. Alright, I took so many shots here, I only planned on taking 2 at first, but then when I seen how low it was printing, it got me wondering if my scope was moving again, which it shouldn't be because I Loctited everything. But on the way down here, I think I realized something. So this first shot I kind of flung there, there's our 3-shot group, and I wasn't trying to be super accurate or anything, I was kind of just honestly holding there and sending them down. So when you consider that, I did fling that first one. We're coming in about 2 inches there, so considering I was just flinging them there, you can see how accurate this thing is at 100 yards with those rounds. So I was wondering why it was low, but they're all grouped in the same spot, and like I said, I pulled that one a little, but on the way down here it occurred to me, I think I misspoke, and I think the center crosshair is actually a 50-yard 0, which would make sense why these would be low, and then the next mark's 100, then 150, then 200, then 250 on the very bottom, instead of 300 like I thought it was. So that's what's going on here. So I'm glad to see my scope isn't moving, because that had been an issue for a while. I went through quite a few boxes of ammunition to figure that one out. So we're grouping good, we're center, we're just low, and that must be because it was in fact center 0 for 50 yards and not 100. That's the problem with owning so many guns, is you kind of forget what each gun and each scope is set for and what all the marks mean. That's a problem I'm happy to have, though. Hey, but that's why you're supposed to check your 0 before any hunting trip or long-range shooting, which I did on the previous video. And like I said, I fully intended to on this video. I just completely forgot and started shooting. So All right, no joke, I gave her 100 clicks up. So let's see where that puts us hitting now. I'm still going to be using that bottom aim point, which, as I know now, I believe is 250 yards, not 300. That is when it was zeroed, and we just went 100 clicks up. All right, so now I'm going to aim right at it with that aim point. If we're still low, hopefully I still have a few clicks left to get me up on that target. It'll be much easier to hit if I can actually aim at the thing. All right, just barely high and off to the right. Now the thing, as you can see, was zeroed at, well, 100 other than being low, so that's definitely the wind pushing the bullet to the right out there, so I will have to compensate for that. But I'm gonna drop it down a few clicks now, and then we'll work on aiming off to the left to combat that wind and hit the plate. Alright, so I went 10 clicks down, which should have dropped us about 11 or 12 inches at 500 yards. With the wind, it keeps picking up and dying off, so this shows that definitely not a good idea to shoot a 450 Bushmaster 500 yards, hunting, because even a 5-mile-an-hour wind is moving that bullet a lot out there, because it is not that aerodynamic. So now that I dropped it down 10 clicks, to combat the wind, and that's the other thing, our accuracy is going to suffer because of that wind, because if it goes 5 miles an hour to the right on one shot and only 3 on the next, that's going to affect bullet placement out there. So about the only way to judge accuracy at this point, since we have just the slightest breeze that's affecting it so much, is going to be how high the bullet is consistently hitting. Because the left and the right is probably going to be all over the place out there. So now that I'm down 10 more clicks, should be about center on that plate. So I'm just going to aim off on the very left edge of that plate for all these shots consecutively, for at least a few shots, and see what happens. But like I said, one might hit further left than the next. It depends on the wind. Alright, that was a hit. About 2 inches high and 2 inches left from the very center of the target. Of course, we'll go take a look at this thing when we're done. Alright, you see it wobbling there. Hopefully heard it. I'm hoping the mic on this new camera is better than the old one. So that one was a little further left, getting close to the edge there, but I'm going to keep the same aim point. Alright, there's 3 in a row. Let's go check it out and see. Like I said, much easier if you actually get to aim at the target instead of trying to guess at a leaf way back in the distance. Alright, let me explain these shots real quick in case you don't recall. So this was our first hit before, when we very first started at the very beginning of the video. This was the one I said hit the top left edge, okay? So these 3 are the 3 that I just took. Now remember I said the left and right is going to be varying because of the wind down here. Now you see the leaves moving there. So the thing is, I've been down here a few hours. I recorded another video prior to this. And the wind, sometimes it like completely stops. Sometimes it picks up again. Sometimes it's not blowing up there, but it is blowing down here. And then sometimes it's stronger than other times. So that's what I was talking about. Remember, I was aiming right here because I was adjusting for the wind, all right? Because we already know this thing's shooting center from that 100-yard target. So this is what I was talking about. This could have been a 2-mile-an-hour cross breeze, okay? That's probably about accurate, honestly. 2 or 3 miles an hour, probably move a 450, 3 inches at 500 yards, maybe more, I don't know. So, but this could have been like a 2-mile-an-hour wind, and this could have been a 4-mile-an-hour wind. See what I'm saying? So as I said, to judge the accuracy at this distance, what you're going to look at, since we're going to have some left and right because of the variance in breeze, is the height. And look how consistent the height is. Only an inch difference at most, okay, maybe 1.25 inches between the height of these 3 shots, because the left and right is most likely the variance in the wind changing between each shot. So if you ask me, that's freaking amazing. This is probably right at about 5, maybe 6 inches. And again, that's due to the wind. 5 inches at 500 yards, that's MOA, man. Actually, I believe it's a hair under MOA, which is excellent for a $300 rifle, especially such a large freaking caliber with a short little stubby bullet. If there was no wind at all, which at least here that hardly ever happens, there's usually always some sort of breeze, this would probably be more like this. So we would for sure have a sub MOA group here at 500 yards with that thing, which, given the price of the rifle and given the cartridge that it's shooting, I think that's absolutely amazing. But yeah, that's 3 shots in a row, guys, at 500 yards, and that's with the wind messing with us, so that's really good. I'm also glad I was able to demonstrate how much more accurate it is to be able to actually aim at the target. I'm usually pretty good at Kentucky windage and holding over the target, but when you're having to hold clear up there, and like I said, the sun kept changing, so it was changing what I was seeing back there, and then also the wind's moving the leaf, so if it's more steady, the leaf I was aiming at might have been there, and then if the wind kicked up, it might have been over here. You see what I'm saying? So I do really well if I'm only aiming about this much over the target, but I was having to aim clear up in there with that 450, and that's why this first string of shots was just kind of all over the place. Adjusted it to actually, like you should if you're wanting to shoot this far, to actually be able to aim at the thing, and well, there's the results. And yeah, I know that's what I should have done if that's what, you know, I want to shoot that 500 yards all the time, but I don't. I want to shoot it 50 to 250 because I use it for deer hunting, so that's why I tried it like it was at first. So now I gotta give it 90 clicks back to get it set back where it was so I don't miss a deer this season. All right, that'll do her. If you guys missed the 25-06, the previous video, make sure you go back and check that out. This thing, obviously, if we can do that, go with 450. No problem with that at 500. But yeah, that does it. I do plan on taking that one to a different range so I can reach out to 1,000 yards for the first time ever in my life. That's going to be really fun. So perhaps in the upcoming future, when we get out there, I might just have to try this at 600 and 700 again, just for fun. Because as we found today, if there's any wind at all, you're gonna, well, I mean, 500 with a 5 mile an hour like today, seeing what we were doing, it was just, you know, at maximum, it was blowing it a foot off to the right. Probably not even quite that much. And then if it died down, you know, it would be back on 0. You could probably guess on a whitetail if he's pretty good size out there at 500 and probably get a fatal shot on him there. Like I said, it's still 800 foot-pounds of energy at 500 yards, which is equivalent to a 44 Magnum pistol point blank, which everyone knows how powerful that is. So you still got plenty of energy to take out a whitetail at 500 yards. So not the ideal rifle to do that. And I know I'm going to get a lot of criticism for suggesting that, but it's definitely doable. Beyond 500 though, with the chance of any breeze at all, especially a breeze that you can't see or one that kicks up suddenly, yeah, no, because you see how much it's moving that bullet at 500. Anyways, appreciate you guys watching as always. If you want to get yourself anything you see in the videos, steel targets, shooting bag, earmuffs, paper targets, anything like that, including a recording device, links in the description. But again, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Till then, later.